Hi everyone, this video is an introduction to the new BatchLine automatic title categorization features. So once you've updated to version 4.50, you need to go into Back Office, Maintenance and Category Management. This will bring up the new Shop Category Management screen, which now has this additional window at the bottom, which allows us to map Thema subject categories to shop categories. So I'm just going to get rid of all of our existing mapping configurations so we can start again. Across the top here, we've just got some buttons which are to do with just the shop categories. So we can create a new shop category. We can edit the name and open Bravo category of an existing category. We'll change the name here if we want to, and then we can change which open Bravo category those titles are in. We can delete a category. We can move all the titles from one category to another. Just a word of warning, that's a very slow process due to a lack of certain indexes on the database. Which means that trying to move large numbers of title by shop category can take a long time. In my tests, 10-15 minutes wasn't uncommon. It will work, but just be aware that it might take a long time. We can look at a stock list for a certain category here, and then we have this new feature which is recategorize. So we can recategorize all the titles, all the in-stock titles in a shop category according to their Thema subject code, and they'll get moved accordingly. Again, that process can take quite a long time, but as we only do the in-stock titles, it's not too bad. You might find that useful, especially for undefined. You might want to, once you've mapped the Thema subject categories to shop categories, coming in here and recategorizing undefined might be a good thing to do to get everything out of the undefined category and into your other categories. So very simply, if we want a title with a certain subject code to go into a certain shop category, we highlight the Thema subject code in the bottom window. So I'm going to highlight the arts here, and then I'm going to highlight the arts category in the shop category window up here. Click the assign button. Use shop category arts for titles with subject code A. Yes. Okay, so we can see that subject mapping now over in the right hand end of this window. Subjects mapped to category. We can see that there A is mapped to arts, and if we click on arts, then in this middle portion of the window it will tell us subject A, the arts, is mapped to arts. So with that mapping in place, anything that has a subject code that begins with A will now be categorized by BatchLine. For example, if we had a title with the theme code ABC, conservation, restoration and care of artworks, when BatchLine sees this subject code, it's going to look for a mapping for this code. It won't find one, so it's going to look for AB instead. It's not going to find one, and it's going to look for A instead, and it will find arts. So we can see here, when we click on these, it will tell us subject ABC maps to arts due to the parent subject, the arts. So if there isn't a specific mapping for a title for its Thema code, then we look up this tree of codes until we find one. So it's probably a good idea to make sure that you map all of these top level subject codes to a shop category. That means if the title in question has a Thema code at all, BatchLine should be able to put it into an appropriate shop category for you. We can also map multiple subject codes to a shop category. We can keep mapping things to arts if we want to. It's not a one-to-one mapping. So we can see here now that anything with A, U or Y is now mapping to arts. So you might find that useful. So if we clear all of these again, we look at something slightly more advanced. The idea of adding a qualifier to a subject code. So generally this will be used, we think, for children's books. We might expand this in future to incorporate all of the Thema qualifiers, but I think that will probably depend on feedback. So for now it's just the interest qualifiers. Although you can just explicitly map any qualifier by itself to a shop category if you want to. I don't think maybe that's that useful, as they are qualifiers for other subject codes, but you can map them. You could map them directly. So in our example, if we take YF, children's teenage fiction, for example, and we're aware that for a book that has a subject code of YF, it could also include an interest qualifier. So it could be YF, and then it could also have the interest qualifier 5AC from 3 years, for example. But so we might want to map that to a different category. So we've got some shop categories here: 0 to 2, 2 to 4, 4 to 10. They don't match up exactly, but if, for example, babies from 3 months, if we click that, so if we go to YF, we can see here if we get YF plus for children for 36 months, 0 to 36 months, we're going to put it in this shop category. Then we can say, okay, YF and 5AD from 4 years, maybe this will go into our 4 to 10 category. So we'll get a summary of what we're doing here. Do we want to use this subject, this shop category, when we find YF and we also find 5AD? Click yes here. We can see now that we're building up more complex mappings here based on the interest level. As long as it starts with YF, we're going to map to here if we see this qualifier. We're going to map to here if we see this qualifier. Okay, so that's basically it. If you want to clear some configuration, so if I want to clear all of YF, you can do that. To click away here and click back to see the change. But we can see that we've got rid of all of that configuration now. And if we want to clear all of our configuration entirely, including what we did before with this arts mapping, okay, there we go. So now everything's mapping to undefined again. So what I want to do is just show quickly how we can set this up and actually see it working. If we go to title search, I'm going to search for this title here. It's not yet published, as you can see here, and we've never seen it before. So we BatchLine grays out the stock record button up here. But so we want to order this book, so let's do a stock order, and this would be fairly normal. And we will come up and we try to add it to the order, and we'd be prompted to select a category, which we'd have to do manually. So now we've got a stock record and it's undefined. So we're going to have a look in Biblio here and find out what Thema code this book actually has, and we find that it's FR. Okay, so let's go and map that code. So find FR here. Let's just map that to fiction. Okay, and we'll exit the management screen. Let's go back to title search. Search for the same title again. And now if we go to order it, you can see it's actually being put in the fiction category. So that will happen in lots of places in BatchLine, specifically when you when you order a title, when you import it into an ISBN list, or when you scan it into a Scan Goods In session. So hopefully you'll find that useful. Obviously we'd be interested in any feedback you have. But for now, that's it. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.